Welcome back to Trading Candlesticks. My name's Brian. This is a video on day 6 and day 7 trading and learning, mostly about the learning that went on. So pretty interesting what happened. I was reading about different strategies. You can see here, let me move my head out of the way. Let's get rid of this and this. That enables you to see this a little bit better. So I was learning about different indicators. So down here we have our typical RSI and our stochastic oscillator. Up here we've got our two Keltner channels that you're used to seeing on my videos by now for trading binary options. This is two new ones down here. The Awesome Oscillator, which turns out maybe is not so awesome for me. And then another one called the Vortex, which I don't really know a ton about. A friend of mine told me about this when we were chatting on the phone about this, and I will explain kind of how they apply. So first things first, I started learning about what the Awesome Oscillator was. And so there's a bunch of different things that the Awesome Oscillator can potentially indicate. One of the most common might be the twin peaks. So let me kind of scroll back in time here. It's a lot of negative peaks right there. So like this is probably a good example right here. So this is essentially indicating if you see a bigger peak on the bottom and then a slightly shorter peak, if you drew a line right here, basically it's saying this is probably heading in that direction, so you could potentially bet higher. But the problem turns out is how long do you wait? And so this would be much more geared towards, hey, I have an account where I can actually set a stop loss and a target, and hey, my stop loss is going to be, so far below, and then my target is going to be, potentially where the slope of that line increases. So that's the twin peak strategy. I didn't really use that strategy, just kind of explaining what it is. The strategy I tended to use was called the saucer strategy. And it doesn't really look like a saucer to me, but this particular chart right here, let me pop this up, has a great example. Right here, this green bar, so below, we're only going to talk about below, it's the opposite for above. So below the zero line, right, if you had, we have red going down, green coming back up. If you get a green bar, then a slightly shorter green bar, and then a red bar that's larger, or actually it doesn't even matter. So green, smaller green, and then a red bar. Essentially that means you should short this stock, which this is, and you should short it on the open of this next candlestick, which if you can see in this picture right here, if we'd have shorted it on the open of this candlestick, we would not do very well. So let me see if I can find another asset that has one of these. So like an example on the top here would have been, we've got a red candlestick, which is shorter, and then a green. So we should go long on this on the next open, which means we'd go long right here. It would have gone down, and then it would have gone up. So that would be fine. And again, this one is barely shorter. So again, you would have gone long on this right here. And I think the question is, well, that doesn't look like it works. And so, just seemed a little off. And so I tried this strategy, and I won the first 5 in a row. And I was essentially placing it for the next minute. And I won the first 5 in a row, and then my middle son came in and was like, hey, what are you doing? Can you explain this chart? And he's 13. So he sat down next to me, and we were going to try that strategy. And I felt pretty good about it because it was the first time I'd used it, and I had gone 5 for 5 and was feeling pretty good. So started doing it, explaining what was going on, looking for those kind of situations. So like exactly right here, like if we get a red bar right here, we would sit here and kind of watch. And then what happened was I lost the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one, and then the fourth one. And pretty much I think I lost 10 in a row. There might have been one one small win there in the middle. But I was like, something seems off now. So we didn't get a red bar, so we'd keep waiting. But I was very kind of humbled, and I went back and I kind of read more, and essentially basically these saucers are kind of good indicators, but I think it's longer term. And so I went back and I kind of tracked out, how far out were these saucers becoming correct. And it turns out, as an example of just how random this was and how I think this makes it really difficult for doing on binary options. The first one that I lost the trade, I went back, and in the 4th minute and then the 6th through the 17th minutes, it would have won. And then the next one I traded was the 2nd minute, the 3rd minute, the 7th minute, the 8th minute, and then the 11th through the 18th minute. So at this point I was thinking, okay, well, maybe I just stick these 12 minutes out. And then the third one was only the 9th minute and the 11th minute. And then the next one was the 4th minute through the 13th minute. And the next one was the 15th through the 22nd minute. And so I pretty much went back and kind of analyzed those trades and was very much convinced that I had not quite understood the strategy perfectly, and probably need to do that on an account where I can set targets and stop losses. So I kind of abandoned that strategy, and then not to throw my friend under the bus or anything, but he was doing much shorter on a demo account, doing much shorter time controls. So instead of doing kind of 1 minute and 1 minute, he was having 15-second candles with a 20-second time window, and he was having good success with that. So then I was totally frustrated with this saucer strategy, and I was like, all right, we're done with the not so awesome oscillator, at least for binary options in my opinion, for that particular strategy. So I switched over to try this shorter time frame and totally just had no success. I was like, yeah, this just seems very much too quick for me. So I need to kind of connect with him and see exactly what he was doing, to see if I was obviously doing something that was not right. So that's kind of the awesome indicator. And then what happened is I was really kind of reading about other strategies, mostly concerning, if you just look at this inner Keltner channel, kind of what you notice. Let me just shrink down. I guess I cannot. Let me get rid of the awesome. We'll just get it a little bigger here. So what I noticed, and kind of I read a little bit about this, but I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I'm not going to give myself credit for making it up. But what I started seeing was, let me get a different asset here. Or maybe I'm just zoomed out too far. So what I started seeing, we'll just go back to this one. What I started seeing was that when inside just this yellow Keltner channel, nope, let's turn that one off. Whenever we have the first peak above, this would be, and it had come from below. So let's just start, we're kind of on a downtrend. We've come below the bottom line of that yellow Keltner channel. When we come back across that Keltner channel, what I've noticed is that it seems like, okay, well, we're getting to the point where we should come back down. But most of the time, I started placing a higher trade right here. And in this particular case, I probably would have, depending on where this candle was, because my trades are exactly 1 minute long. Let me just change my counter to 1 minute in case we encounter one. They'd be 1 minute long. So this one would have gone down, but then you notice it goes up. And so then this comes down, comes back up. So now we've hit below. So now I'm only looking for the next up. So everything below, yuck, and this doesn't matter until we get to here. So at the end of this, I would have placed a 1 minute up, and we probably would have won, definitely would have won, because these were both above. So even if I was a second late, it still would have been fine. And now as that goes up, I'm only going to care about, if it comes back down to the mean, I'm only going to care if it drops a full candle, actually has body below this second line. The off by 2, I think that's it's just a multiplier of 1. So basically anything below that. So let me switch assets just to give you a better view. So as an example, this wouldn't count. this was the last down below, so then we're only looking for ups. And so we would have gotten hammered here because it took a deep dive. And we wouldn't count this one because we haven't been back below. So none of those count until we get to right here. So on this down right here, we would have placed a short and we would have won. And so that's kind of been my new strategy. And that strategy actually turned out to work really well. 1 minute candles, 1 minute trade length. And essentially, I won 9 out of 10, and then I came back a little bit later and basically made it up to 15 out of 16. And then I traded later in the evening around, I'm guessing, the time that the European markets opened, because it was Sunday night for me, and I'm in the mountain time zone. So I'm guessing that around 10 p.m.-ish my time is a lot of the European markets are opening on Monday morning or about to open. So, and I've experienced this twice at that same time period where kind of everything just doesn't seem to work. And so I ended up getting completely hammered. I think I lost like 10 trades in a row, which still, when you look at it, it's like, hey, I lost 11 out of 27. That still is not bad, right? Still plus 5 trades across 27 trades. So that'd be 5 bets. But that was, quite interesting. So like on this graph as an example, let's see, did we go back below? So we went back below. So if this went back above, we'd place a bet. Let's come over here. Let's just see if we can find one and actually click it in live. So I also tend to look at the trend. So I would much rather bet on this thing coming down, this candle coming down through here and betting down on this, because the last up was here. So really, we probably would have put it in here, and none of these would have counted for my strategy. But I'd much rather put the down bet in on an asset that's trending downwards than an up bet. But what I've learned is it doesn't seem to matter. So most of the time, just click when you see that condition. So here we would have clicked here and we would have lost. And I don't know what's going on in the markets today. I haven't looked, just kind of getting the day started. But like, here's a great example. So, we're coming from an up, we hit the down, we definitely lose this one. It comes back up. It doesn't quite peak above. So this one we wouldn't count. This is the one where it peaks. We'd place the trade and up it would go. Let's see what else we can find. So this one peaked above, then peaked below. So unfortunately that does not look proper. This one peaked above. So this is an example. If this one happens to close below here, we will go ahead and place a short on this, and we might actually get it. Who knows? But we'll be ready. Doesn't look like it's going to make it. So we'll just kind of sit here and watch. So then I talked to my friend, and he said, well, I'm using the vortex thing, and when the lines cross and one is shooting up away from the other one, that is kind of a channel for when he is using it as an indicator. And so if the red line's shooting up, he's basically shorting. And I looked back at all the trades I was doing based on the strategy I just discussed. And it turns out, as you can see, if this were to cross below this line, this red line is also shooting up. So it's almost like we were somehow came upon the same strategy from a totally different angle. And that's pretty interesting. So it doesn't look like we're going to actually get here right now. That one was not. Let's see what else we got. Let's get out of there. That one is not good. So this one we didn't peak back above after the last low, so we're not going to look at that one. This one we peaked above. So like this is what I was saying. This is trending up, so it's much harder to want to take the down if it would have crossed. Doesn't look like it's going to get down there. Lots of stuff trending up today, except for the US dollar. McDonald's trending hard down. So like this one, if it peaked above, this would be a great, or actually, if it peaked above and then came back down, you can kind of see it's sitting below the whole time, unfortunately. So the last time you would have peaked would have been here, and you would have put the short in, and then it would have been below. So, kind of imagine if you had a target and a stop loss, and you were sitting here watching this, and it never came back, and you kept pushing your target, or your stop loss lowering it and lowering it to the point where you're just always taking that profit. That's only 33%. Let's see if we can get one here. Above, below, above. So we're not having any luck finding any. And I think that's one of the things that this interface makes very difficult. I need to find a way to do this much better. Yeah, so like if this one comes back above, this one would be one where, we'd obviously say higher. But again, it's, if we look back, it's kind of trending, down a bit right now. So it's hard to know. So, but you can see our lines. Our green line is starting to shoot, straight up, obviously because of this, and the red line obviously down. So if this does continue, we would place a higher trade right there. So those are the kind of strategies that I was using, and it was quite, disappointing to have the first couple strategies that I was trying not actually be what I should have been using. But again, this is the learning period, and this is why I'm sharing it, so that maybe you don't make the same mistake. Make sure that your strategies are going to apply to a timeline that is somewhat determinable, like a minute or 2 minutes. So I'm going to show you the results that I actually ended up having. Just going to switch that so it doesn't make as much noise from my computer, and you can see the kind of couple days. This is actually not day 5. This is day 6 and day 7. So this is that initial, hey, 5 in a row, feeling pretty good about the strategy, and then just tanks to here, and then I stopped and said, okay, something's up. And then I tried to basically do the shorter time frame, kind of in here, which obviously didn't go well. And then I missed this -10 as a missed double up, which was super disappointing. But this is, again, like essentially this is wrong strategy. So we're down to negative, 25 or almost negative 30, probably negative 27 on the day. That was day 6. So yes, 2 days ago at this point. And then, all this is just kind of, not following strategy that had been working for, essentially 4 of the 5 days, except for the other day, which was day 2, where I was essentially guessing. And then we got back to following strategy. And so what happened, this was just basically from here to here was off track, which is, off track, mistakes, learning. And then here's that kind of 10 in a row with the new strategy, just looking for things being above or below that Keltner channel, like I just explained. And then we lost a couple, won some more. I think this was like I don't remember what this was. And then kind of, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, so somewhere this is the actual up of all that Keltner channel. And then for whatever reason, this is the, European markets probably opened. And so when that started happening, I switched back to that same 2-minute strategy that I've been using. And so if we come back over here, turn this other Keltner channel on, just watching for this RSI and the stochastic oscillator to be below that 20 and 80 or below the 30 or above the 70, and having that be outside that blue. So as an example of one, like right here, the lines are above, we're almost to the 70, we're above that blue, we close, so we would short that for 2 minutes, and so it would end here. We would definitely win that trade. If we come back to, let's come back into a, this starts coming up. This doesn't look high enough on the RSI for me, so when we get up to here, it starts looking high enough, but it doesn't peak outside the blue. So you can kind of see this doesn't peak. It peaks outside the blue here. This is above. That is the most annoying feature. This peaks above the blue. Both these lines are above the 80. We would short this for 2 minutes. And so that's essentially what this last 5 trades of the night were. And then I went to bed. So, overall, basically we can look at this as, screw around and find out. That's exactly what this is, down $100, or, $25 bets. And then, be focused, and pulled it all the way back to essentially break even. And then got to figure out what's going on here with the opening of the markets. and then get back to the strategy. So the strategy that definitely has performed kind of the best is definitely that Keltner channel one with the 2-minute timer. This one where it's the RSI and the stochastic oscillator are above or below by a lot. That one seems to not fail. Like, it's worked for all the trades that I've done over time so far. I wish I had a way to easily filter this is what that trade was to see and kind of show, hey, here's the pattern for just that. So I might see if I can do that for tomorrow's video, but that is kind of where things are at. In other good news, I finally got, I talked to my CPA, and just to make sure that everything was kind of going to be done the correct way for opening the other trading account, and that account has been set up and funding is on the way. So a whole bunch more learning is about to commence. We'll be trading on Tradovate, so that will be a lot of fun. Again, let me know if you have comments or questions. Go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you like the content. Give the video a thumbs up. It definitely helps me, especially since this channel is just getting started. And let me know what your thoughts are. Thanks, and we will see you guys all probably tomorrow for another video. Bye for now.